Okay guys, put the Tierlist in the bag. There's only a few changes, but I think the meta shifts a little bit because of these few changes. For example, Zeri buff. Okay, we talk about Zeri. Craziest champion right now, unironically. Maybe I'm overrating her because I'm a massive Zeri enthusiast, but she feels extremely broken, okay? So I actually will put her up to God tier from wherever we had her before. I think she's great now. I think everyone will start playing her. And I had Tristana in B tier before, but I think Tristana is really good versus Zeri. So therefore, I actually want to move her up and put her in S. Another great champion for SoloQ, just because you can perma-stack Drakes with this champion is MF. I also think she deserves to be in God tier. She's great because she doesn't scale bad. The only thing she scales bad into is tanks. Not a lot of people like to play tanks in SoloQ, so the champion is always great. Next champions in S tier. Varus is always great. Like, Varus is just really good at getting prio, same as MF, but I rate him a bit lower. Why? Because I think Varus is kind of bad at 1v9 games, in comparison to MF at least, but he still provides like the same as MF. You get push, you play for Drakes, and you're chilling. Another pick this patch, Senna. I had her in S tier last patch. She's getting nerfed 4% less drop rate on the souls, which kind of sucks, but it doesn't matter that much because the way you play Senna is you try to pick her into champions that are relatively low range that you can perma farm souls on. For example, Braum, Nautilus, Alistair, stuff like this, like low range champions on support, and you just perma stack souls on them. Rel, other example. And then like an AD carry that is relatively low range too. Stuff like Lucian, Sivir. Sivir can low-key block your Q, but it's pretty hard to do. Samira, Jhin. Yeah, champions like this. Zeri especially as well. Senna is great versus Zeri. You can't really all in as Zeri if Senna plays good, and you can never really trade her because Senna just outranges and then heals back up if she takes damage. The only thing that's really nerfed is a few souls from minions. Yes, it sucks, but you're gonna have like 10 souls less at like 30 minutes. It matters a bit, but not to the point where Senna is a weak champion. Next champion, I think underrated as fuck. Nobody plays him, but Karthus is fucking broken. Karthus is broken. Dude, his ult is the best ult in the game for SoloQ environment. You just hit 5 people by pressing one button. It's very unskilled. You can get push on this champion just like you get push on MF and Varus. And as I said, getting a push AD carry on bot lane that is strong in early and strong in late game, that's like the best you can pick right now. Next, Ashe, same as Varus and MF, you just play for push and Drake. Same for Jhin. Draven, not so good right now. He's just pretty fucking weak, to be honest. But I think it's mainly, it has to do with champions that are good into Draven. They are meta right now. Draven hates MF, I think. Draven hates Varus. Draven kind of doesn't like Senna, Ashe, Jhin. Obviously, all these matchups are winnable for Draven if he gets like a kill or whatever. But I generally think he hates these champs, and that's why he's not very good right now, despite him not being nerfed. That's why I would rate him in B tier. Lucian got nerfed last patch. That's why he's in B tier for me. I think Sivir is pretty good too, since the buffs. Jinx, I think, can be good, but not in all scenarios. Like, she sucks versus Poke. If she's not versus Poke, she's great. I think she can kind of play versus Jhin. She can play versus Sivir. She can play versus Tristana. She's good into Zeri. She's decent into MF. Ezreal, A tier pick. I think he's always decent, but you need to be really good on him to make him worth. Like, a good Ezreal player is gonna be S tier. A bad Ezreal player is just gonna be D tier. And an average Ezreal player is just like A tier, and I think most people are like average. Twitch, kinda shit. I'm not sure about Corki. Corki can still be S. I think he's between S and A. It's pretty close. Victor, shit, we put him down. I think Syndra is like B tier low-key. She's underrated because not a lot of people play her, but I think she's pretty good on bot. Vega on D, way. Nobody plays this champ. I placed him in A tier last patch, but low-key don't think he deserves a spot in A. He's okay. But I think Zeri is gonna be decent versus him. MF is decent. Senna, Varus, Karthus, they're all fine. He's pretty good versus Tristana though. It's a Tristana counter. Kalista, mega nerfed this patch. Put her in the D tier, put her in the bag. This champion is fucking garbage now. I would not recommend her. I think Aurora, low-key A tier worthy. She got buffed like in the recent patches, and she's pretty fucking strong in general. Electrocute also got buffed 10 patches ago. Caitlyn, B tier. It's okay. Aphelios kinda trash. 6, I think between A and B. I think 6 is actually great into Senna, is great into Varus, is great into Tristana, can be good versus the ST picks as well, and Karthus. I think he deserves a spot in A. Vayne is like good in low elo, but she's really trash in high elo against any lane that can punish her. So maybe I'm underrating her with D. I'll put her in C. She's good in low elo, to be fair. but like she's not a good champion. Let's go with counter picks and let me explain what counter picks are, because a lot of people seem to misunderstand. Like, for example, I put Kai'Sa and then people ask me, what does Kai'Sa counter? It's not necessarily Kai'Sa counters X champion. It's more like Kai'Sa is countered by poke and range champions like Varus, Ashe. She's struggling into MF. She low-key struggles into Tristana sometimes. She struggles versus Senna. So you don't want to blind pick Kai'Sa. But as soon as the enemy picks champions that are not high range and you have some setup on support, for example, Nautilus, Rel, Leona, Alistar, then Kai'Sa is good. Same goes for Zyra. Zyra is not like particularly a counter into one champion in specific, besides Nilah maybe. Like, Zyra is actually insanely good into Nilah, but Zyra in general counters champions that walk into you, because your feathers are great against that, and champions that you can avoid important ultimates with, like Zed, Malphite, Bi-ult, stuff like this. So this is why she's encountered here. Same goes for Nilah. Nilah is actually pretty underrated this patch. I think she's really good. She deserves a place in the counter tier, because as soon as enemy picks like 1 or 2 auto attackers, especially Rengar, this champion is great, because Nilah alone makes Rengar completely useless for the enemy team, because you press W when he presses ult. Okay, you don't press W as soon as you see him press ult, but as soon as he jumps on someone, you press W and he can't auto attack that person, because you can put the buff literally on 5 people. Next one in the counter tier is Mel. Mel is just in general great versus champions that you can reflect important abilities with. For example, like if enemy has a Maokai or they have a Pyke, Mel is insane versus Pyke, because if you press W on the Pyke hook, you're gonna hook the Pyke. If you press W on the Pyke E, which is like really easy to do, you're gonna stun the Pyke. So literally his whole champion kit is countered, because you can also reflect his ult if he tries to execute you. Another counter pick, Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw is really shit versus poke, and really shit versus champions that can get on top of him and he just insta-dies. Something like Malphite plus Olaf, and they just both press ult on you and you run you down and you can't like do anything against it, for example. So like you want to play him into shit that can't really go on you and also doesn't outrange you. One example is Braum. Braum is very bad at engaging, getting on top of Kog'Maw, like he's melee. So like any champs that are melee that are not a big threat for Kog'Maw are good. Diego is pretty easy to peel. Mundo, I think, should be fine. Warwick, I think, is relatively easy to peel. Nasus, stuff like this, that like wants to walk into you but can't just like snap one button and insta be on you. Like Nocturne, for example, is really annoying. Smolder got nerfed to armor last patch, but doesn't really matter that much. That nerf doesn't really do anything. If it's a good spot for Smolder and you can freely stack, this champion is great. So for example, if you play him into Jhin, it's fine. Into Stevie, it's low-key okay. Jinx is fine. Zeri is fine. Stuff like this. Like not the strongest lane as Kai'Sa, Nilah. Zyra is okay too, I think. Yasuo deserves a spot in counter. He's good versus immobile AD carries that he can just like E on top of in lane phase. He sucks versus Senna. He's not very good versus Zeri and Tristana. Yeah, he's pretty good versus the rest, I think, or decent versus the rest. Not the best versus Ezreal, but okay. Samira got a few changes, few buffs in the recent patches. I think she deserves a spot in counter tier. She's generally really good if enemy doesn't have any CC, because if you can't CC her in the ult, she's gonna take over. But as soon as she is blind picked, and against something like Alistar or whatever, she is completely fucked. Like, she can't play. So that's why she's in counter tier. And that's why I think there's rare spots you need to pick late as AD carry and the enemy doesn't need to have any CC, and then this champion is great. But this doesn't really happen a lot because AD carry is usually a blind pick role. Let's do the rest faster. And I think we put the Tierlist in the back. That's good like this.